Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. For Magic the Gathering, let's talk about my first win ever of a Commander EDH game. I went to the Yokohama Haruya and joined their casual medium level event. In my pod were two more experienced players. One played Bello from the Bloomborough Commander product, the other played Ramos with a matching playmat, very nice. And then the final player was a professed beginner. She played Kalia of the Vast, and I played my Subira deck. I'll go over in broad strokes what the other players were doing, and then I'll talk about what my deck did. Bello, of course, played a bunch of artifacts and enchantments that cost 4 more mana. They played like Joyra's Familiar, Solemn Simulacrum, Asceticism, and most notably, Nevinaral's Disc. I don't know how you say that. Their plan was to blow up everything every turn, since the disc would be indestructible to its own effect, along with many of the other permanents on that player's board. Creatures that didn't have indestructible could be regenerated with asceticism. Very clever, and they did get it off once. Ramos was kind of a Voltron deck, and he got up to like 20/20 flying and a whole bunch of other effects thanks to Chromanticore. The Kalia player, as you would expect, had a deck full of demons and angels. She started with Varagoth and ended up with Archfiend of Depravity, Platinum Angel, Herald of Eternal Dawn, and the Balrog of Moria. As a Lord of the Rings fan, I was happy to see that last one. So yeah, lots of big creatures and big attacks. And as usual, I was playing a bunch of little guys led by Subira, and I love her so much. She makes my guys unblockable if they have power 2 or less, and actually did her activated ability 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. And I was drawing like 6 cards at a time with the help of Harmonic Prodigy to double the effect here, because she is a shaman. And then kind of the MVP of my early game was Zurazoth here. This guy's hilarious. This is my first time playing with him in paper. He would attack, he would be unblockable, and then me and that opponent would draw a card, and then we would discard a card at random. This was great to mess with people's plans, and there were some groans when they discarded cards that were revealed. And I love that. I love randomness like that. And then Zurazoth would make more devils, and they were great blockers. They definitely saved me from some big attacks. And then my next 2 MVPs were enchantments. And oddly, in this aggro combo deck, the enchantments are kind of my favorite cards. But first was Braid of Fire. This has a cumulative upkeep to give me more and more red mana, which I would use all into Subira. This mana appears and then like disappears very quickly, so there's not really a window to use it, but Subira can take advantage. But this never really played a part because Subira was removed and then everything was removed with Nevinaral's Disc, so yeah. I did get it out, but really didn't get to make use of it. But the next enchantment came out earlier and did play a part. That was Power Balance here. I love this card, again, with the randomness. An opponent plays a spell, I can reveal the top card of my library. If those 2 spells have the same casting cost, I can play that spell for free on the spot. And then the biggest laugh of the match came when an opponent played a 3 mana spell. I revealed the top card of my library, and it was Simeon's Spirit Guide. The reason why this is funny is no one ever casts this spell. They only ever use the discard for mana ability, and the other players were like, this is the first time I've ever seen this card on the board, what can it even do? It's a vanilla 2/2 just sitting there doing nothing. It was pretty funny. But later, someone cast a Deathrite Shaman for 1 mana. I revealed the top card, and it was Soul Ring. Pretty powerful play, and for free. So sometimes I can get a great benefit, sometimes I can get a booby prize, but it's almost always value, because at the very least I can look at the next card and plan with that in mind. And so the game was entering like turn 9, minute 50 of the 60-minute limit, and the disc had just gone off, and all I had were 9 lands on board. I played Subira from my hand for 3, she had been bounced, then I played Jessica's Will. And the only reason to play Subira was so I could get both effects off of this. So first I got 7 red mana floating, and then I exiled the top 3 cards to be able to play them. And then in there was a Goblin Recruiter. Somehow, amazingly, even though the game was turn 9 and I had refilled my hand with draws multiple times, I hadn't screwed up the Goblin Recruiter combo line by drawing or discarding an important piece, so after checking my graveyard to make sure that I hadn't done that, I spent 2, cast the Recruiter, and set up the top of my library with the classic setup. Let's see, from the bottom, Mog Fanatic, and on top of that, Kiki-Jiki, and on top of that, Torch Courier, and on top of that, Skirk Prospector, and at the very top, Conspicuous Snoop. And then I wanted to draw this Snoop, and I checked my hand to see if I had anything that could do it. Thankfully, I had a cheap Goblin with haste, so I spent 2, put this out, activated Subira's ability, discarded my hand, hit an opponent with this guy, and then drew 1 card, which was the Snoop, and then we were in business. So the Snoop can use the abilities of the Goblin revealed on the top of the deck, so I used the Skirk Prospector's ability to eat the Recruiter, create a red mana, and then use that to cast the Prospector. That reveals the Torch Courier. I tapped a land to cast the Courier, and then I revealed Kiki-Jiki. I sacrificed the Courier to give the Snoop haste so that he could use Kiki-Jiki's ability. I tapped the Snoop to make a copy of himself, also with haste, and then that one also copied the Kiki-Jiki ability, so infinite Snoops coming out. Then with the Prospector here, I ate 5 of those copies of the Snoops, used that 5 mana to cast Kiki-Jiki, and then reveal the Mog Fanatic, and then all of the infinite Snoops picked up this ability to sacrifice themselves to do damage, so I did 1 million damage to each player straight to the face, and I won. Super happy about that, and I'm really glad I remembered how to do the Goblin combo line. It's a little complex. I understand that infinite combos that come out of nowhere and win regardless of the state of the game is a strategy looked down on by some people, and in doing it myself I kind of understand why. You get the sense that everything that had happened up to that point in the game meant nothing. I basically played 1 card, Goblin Recruiter, and it set me up to win. But in order to get the win right then and there, quote-unquote out of nowhere, I had to cast Jeska's Will, have my commander out first to get both parts of Jeska's Will, then I needed a haste attacker after being board wiped, then my combo of 5 cards needed to be fully intact in my deck without 1 piece missing. I needed the mana to do all this, and I needed my opponents to not have instant speed interaction to interrupt the combo. So yeah, even though I was able to go from an empty board to a win in the same turn, a lot of things had to go right to make it happen. But yeah, super cool. My opponents were visibly deflated when I revealed the combo, but they weren't too upset. Time was about up anyway, and when I told them that it was my first win ever, they congratulated me. But yeah, I love the Subira deck. I love how it takes weenie combat, which is one of the weaker strategies in EDH, and turns it into an enabler for a combo win through card draw. It looks unassuming, but it can win fast. And I also really enjoyed the random effects, and I might look into how I can put more of those into this deck. But yeah, hopefully the first of multiple reports this week, and then at the end of the week there's a big convention pretty close to here, so I'll see if I can go to that, pick up some kind of limited goods, and maybe play some games. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.